With 1.0, we're releasing Manufacture Mode, a brand new game mode that's focused on large-scale factory logistics, and this new game mode will be optional for all players. Though you might want to have experienced the classic Shapes mode first, which will remain the default mode when starting up the game. The new game mode will encourage you to build larger factories featuring new platforms that will require unique shapes, allowing you to fulfill quotas in order to launch a Vortex platform from the Vortex Grand Assembler. But before we dive into the new mode, I want to take the time later in this video to also respond to a few of the concerns from our question and answers video on 1.0, so stay to the end for that. But first, let's talk about this new mode. Now in Shapes 2, you extract, produce and send shapes to the Vortex. Doing so allows you to unlock new shapes and also gives you access to new technologies, letting you build more efficient layouts. Now alongside the operator shapes used to progress, we also have the side tasks which require you to build other factories to create the desired shapes for that particular task. However, once you've completed that factory, it becomes deprecated and no longer contributes to progression. So some of our player base love this puzzle aspect, allowing them to focus on one shape at a time, but we also have another player base that love to build these permanent factories that grow into these massive sprawling facilities, focusing just on sheer throughput. But because of this, we wanted to develop the Manufacture mode, which we feel will appeal to that side of the community. However, for that, we need to approach production differently. So in Shapes, each shape that you harvest can be broken down into its base components, which can then be redistributed. But once you've reformed the shape into what it is that you need, it's just a case of scaling up and ensuring constant flow of resources. Whereas in other factory games, they may request, say, 1,000 of a particular base resource for an endgame item, which is reduced throughout the production to just 1 or 2 items. Now, as such, we've implemented a new conversion shape, which allows us to trade shapes in the assemblers a bit like traditional recipes in factory games, creating this entirely new mode for you to explore in Shapes. You'll notice a difference immediately in Manufacture mode. So we've actually replaced the Vortex with a central building called the Trade Broadcast Hub, which will eventually supply you with shapes that allow you to produce new shapes for the various trade stations, which each require an order of shapes to be fulfilled before unlocking the next shape and progressing in the game mode. Now, we really enjoy Manufacture mode because it means there's no need to delete a facility if it's working as intended. You can just continue to expand your factories, much more akin to other factory games in the genre. But this has presented an issue for us. It throws you straight into building factories at the space belt level, which we feel can be overwhelming for new players. And as such, rather than replacing the default mode, Manufacture mode is going to be optional and should be considered more of an advanced mode that's ideal for players who already have a firm understanding of how to play the classic mode. And whilst we are happy with the new game mode, we are still making a few minor changes to the recipes and also the shapes, so this may look a little different come release. Jumping into Manufacture mode, you'll find new trade stations, which are these big manufacturing buildings. These require a set input of shapes, more akin to the traditional recipes in automation games, and once the initial order is fulfilled, you'll be able to unlock that operator tier and start producing the new shape. Now, these shapes will then be needed in further production lines. However, we also recommend that you produce extra shapes so that they can be sent to the new donation station. This is a new building that accepts shapes to increase your operator level, granting research points that can be used to unlock upgrades. Later in the game, you will also unlock the research station, which works similarly to the donation station, but in addition returns you the recycled shapes. You'll also be able to unlock new alternate trade stations. Now these produce variations of the new shapes in return for different inputs, giving you alternate recipes to work with, which may be better suited depending on your current factory setup. Each of the manufacturers are shaped differently, allowing for you to experiment with different production chain layouts to build the most efficient system possible. And in total, we have 9 trade station tiers in the game mode, each resembled by a different color. These are the initial shape trade station, followed by the Redderite, Yellow Opal, Grinoline, Sapphire, Bluesonite, Magenthist, Brightamond, and Vortsidian trade stations. In addition, there are 7 additional trade stations unlocked through research, with each one an alternate manufacturer for the first 7 tiers. Now, once you've established your production lines, you'll be committing your resources towards the Grand Vortex Assembler. Now, it'll take a lot of work, but once done, you'll be able to produce the Vortex platforms which are used in the classic mode. And naturally, this system requires lots of resources earlier on in the production chain, which means that the manufacture mode is more suited to those who want the challenge of building larger factories and the logistics that come with that. And we really cannot wait to see what you come up with after the release. Now that we've revealed what the new mode is about, do let us know if this is something you're excited to delve into. Now, next I wanted to address the question and answer video that we had, and there were a fair few questions asking when will 1.0 be released, and having spoken about it internally, we want you to know that we are planning for a 1.0 release April this year, but we're not 100% certain on this, so if we do have to move it still, please don't hold us to it. As soon as we know a date for definite, we will announce it to you. And also, to help with addressing any other questions that you may have, we've decided to activate the community posts over on YouTube, which means you can jump over to our community tab and you should be able to post any questions that you have about the game there, and I will do my best to answer what questions I can. There were also a few great suggestions for the game as well, and I just wanted to mention that we do have a dedicated suggestions page, which I didn't know about. So you can make suggestions and also upvote your favorite ideas there, and I will post a link to the page, which is shapes-2.nalt, in the description below. And that kind of brings us to a close for today's video, and we're eager to hear your thoughts on manufacture mode, so why not let us know what you think in the comments below. But until next time, thanks for watching.